I'm Chef Gabe, and this is Under the Hood. This is Robert Zouder. This is the guy that makes every event behind the scenes, terracer, under the hood, anything we're doing off-site. This is a guy that's right there with me, side by side, planning, logistics, menu, flavors.
Today we're gonna make something really cool, good for a holiday meal especially. I mean, you can make these and freeze them, and they hold really well.
So we made this dish here before in the restaurant, but we used beef cheeks or oxtail.
Exactly.
Right. It's meat that takes a long time to cook, braise, very gelatinous, and we're gonna just use the same process, but we're gonna use beef shoulder. This is gonna be braised in ancho, in some beer. We're gonna use some Mexican flavor. We're in SoCal.
Right.
I'm Mexican. So I'm gonna start browning this meat.
Okay.
I'm gonna season it lightly with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Right.
And then if I could just have you start, slicing up garlic, our aromatics here, our onions.
Right.
I just put a little bit of oil in the pot, and I'm just browning the meat so it gets browned on all sides.
Okay.
Season lightly with a little salt and pepper.
Well, what you're doing is you're actually caramelizing the meat proteins on the outside, and that then dilutes into the liquid later on.
You'll smell it too, so you wanna make sure that in your pot, you're not overcrowding it. Because what happens when you're overcrowding it, you're steaming it. And then meat is not becoming seared. It's not getting that crust.
Exactly.
It's not getting crispy.
So, Gabe, besides the onion and the garlic, what other flavors are we gonna use inside this braise?
We use cumin, coriander, ancho, and guajillo. Each chili has its own distinct flavor. Some of them are nutty and toasty. Some of them are robust and full of bright flavor.
Sometimes when you go to the market and you see these dried chilies sitting there and you're wondering, how am I supposed to use those things? You just take that dried chili, cut off the back, open it up, knock out the seeds. You put them in a pot, put boiling water over them, let them infuse and they'll, rehydrate, and then you puree it. They last longer, they have more flavor and they're more potent.
Ezzy, now that we have our meat all seared, we are going to start our aromatics, right? So I'm gonna take this onion and this garlic while the pot's still hot. We're gonna just wake these up, as you say.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Sweat them out a little bit.
Sweat. We don't need to get too carried away because we're just gonna start building our flavors again. And all that fond on the bottom that got stuck, there's a certain point where the onions start getting nice and supple. And
they release their moisture, and that itself deglazes the bottom.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to emphasize here. And if you look at that, all that stuff is coming out, and that's all flavor, man. I think it's at the right point where we're gonna add our ancho and our guajillo.
This just builds notes of background flavor.
So we got a little bit of the coriander, and I'm not putting all of it. I'm putting just enough. Probably about, you put all of it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
I measured that out.
You could smell everything right here. So this is what's gonna flavor all this braise, man. Check this out, as you see how
so that looks almost like a mole base or something, doesn't it?
Exactly, right? See how the spices just dry up everything, take all the liquid, and they toast everything nice and neat.
So now deglaze quickly.
We're gonna deglaze
with beer.
With beer. We're gonna add our meat, and all this juice that's in the pan, that's going back in the pot, man. That's all flavor. And then we're gonna add that zest of orange.
There's multiple techniques on how to use a zester. Personally, the way that I like using it, and this is just me, is I go like that and then I just tip it over.
I'm just gonna add some water just so we finish. Get some of that zest in there, just so the meat starts to float. So we're adding a little bit of fresh oregano just for another fresh element. And we're just putting it in the braise because essentially this meat is gonna shred. I think we should go a little bit longer, maybe close to 3 hours.
Because you want it to fall apart.
Exactly.
And you check. You put a fork in. If it pulls apart easy and you can see the strands, that's
check
probably
hour, 2 hours in.
Exactly.
You'll see where you're at, All right, Ezzy, our braise is done. Let's check it, see if it's just right. Oh man, so you can see it falling apart just right. So we're just gonna strain the liquid from the meat, and then we really gotta pick through it because we wanna pull out those stems from the fresh oregano. I think the garlic will be soft enough that it'll just mash right in, even the onions.
And that's where like cutting into these big chunks like this,
It's easier to do.
it's gonna be hot, and I'm gonna sacrifice my hands for the viewing audience over here.
You could wait.
Yeah, you could wait down
and
a little
just
bit.
kind of like cool off a little bit, but you still want it to be just a little warm, because if you wait too long, you want to be able to set its gelatin.
Exactly. What we add is kosher certified beef gelatin. Or what you could do is you could throw a couple pieces of beef cheek inside when you do it with a cheaper cut of meat.
I would.
And therefore you don't have to worry about having to do that.
So this is shredding perfect, guys. And this is what we're trying to achieve. And now we're gonna take this braising liquid and we're gonna reduce it a little bit, just to intensify if there's any beef gelatin in this naturally, right? And then we're gonna add our gelatin. Depending if you want it to be a sliceable mold, it's usually 14 grams to a cup of liquid. Now, I got probably about 3 cups of liquid, and this looks like more than 14 grams. So we're gonna just eyeball it a little bit.
Right.
We're just gonna go right into it and whisk while it's still warm. And this is perfect temperature too. It's not too cold and it's not too hot. Perfect job shredding it, Ezzy.
Thank you very much.
Now, I like to do is just poke my little fingers right into here. Right, I'm gonna create some little vessels, some little area where the gelatin can kind of like mix.
Come down.
And don't forget, like, we're just only putting enough so it sets.
I mean, in theory, if you really want to, you could do it in a bowl and then fold it around, then put it into the container.
Exactly.
If you have to clean everything yourself, the less dishes, the easier it is.
So next step, Ezzy.
Take this, let it cool down your counter. Of course, you don't want to put this hot into your fridge. And then let it sit in your fridge overnight. And when you come back the next day, it should be set into like a jello almost.
I love the flavor of jalapeno, but I hate spice. I want that balance of jalapeno flavor and a little sweetness. And I've seen in the store, even in the kosher market, there's jalapeno jams.
Wear gloves. Please don't touch your face.
So this is literally a 1/4 cup of sugar and just a tablespoon of salt. So we want it to be sweet, but not too sweet. At the same time, we want it to be savory. We're gonna put our sugar, our salt,
And shake it.
and then we're gonna set it, put it in the fridge, forget it.
Come back tomorrow.
You could see the liquid already come off of that.
Right.
And the color changed, right? So what we're gonna do is just cook it just a tad. We're gonna bring some heat to it. I'm not trying to fry it. All I'm trying to do is just break down that jalapeno a little bit, get it a little tender. Now that we have our jalapeno jam working, we're gonna do one more recipe, and it's just gonna be a simple corn puree. So I'm talking about just corn, maybe a little salt, and some almond milk.
Really simple, really easy. Throw this together last minute. It'd be great for any type of meal.
The only reason why I say corn puree is because I love the natural sweetness of corn. And it's just gonna mesh well with that spicy jalapeno, and then that braise with all the deep chilies. It's gonna cut all that heat.
Throw a little salt inside.
Yeah, don't even get carried away. It's just real simple.
You can always add more salt later.
Exactly.
And just throw it on the stovetop until the corn's done.
Okay, Ezzy, I think this jam is just right, man. Look at that color.
Oh wow, look at the color change.
The color
all
changed
the
a little bit, and it's a little thickened, and it's got a little bit of, you know, this nice little syrup going on.
It looks mean. It looks a little bit like a mean green, you know what I mean?
Like deep.
Deep. So you're gonna take the corn, and you're just gonna shuck the kernels right off of it.
But we're gonna use this liquid as well, right?
Right.
Just so it just makes it nice and smooth. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of some of the corn broth. It makes the pureeing process a little bit easier. So we might need a little salt. We'll taste again.
Right.
But look at that beautiful color, nice and yellow.
You wanna go further than this, Chef?
I think we're good, man. Looks nice. Oh yeah, this is great. This will plate nice. Let's try it. I think you're good.
It's 3 ingredients.
Yep.
Almond milk, corn, and salt. No
That's it.
pepper, nothing needed. You get the sweetness. It's just a great contrast.
We have our beef shoulder. It's just a giant cake of shredded meat and gelatin.
Exactly.
Right?
It actually is like super soft, and you just cut it and you put on a piece of bread, and it's just delicious.
So we're gonna take this off the pan. Exactly. We're gonna invert it, give it a little smash, and if it doesn't come off, oh, perfect. This is what we want, right? And you wanna be gentle and just cut little squares that are easy to use.
Yeah.
You don't wanna cut too small and you don't wanna get too big. Why? It's because when you fry it,
Right.
it's not gonna heat in the center. Now we're gonna dredge it with a little bit of flour, right? So now I'm just dusting with flour, guys, and I'm putting it inside the egg. After it's in the egg, I'm gonna give it a little flip, and it's gonna go into the breadcrumb. And then we're just using panko breadcrumb. You might have some flavored breadcrumb or stale bread. Turn it into breadcrumb, toast it up. You could add a little bit of fried onions in there. It would be awesome.
That'd be delicious.
We're doing deep frying, but at the sense it's not full of oil.
Exactly.
And then these are not frozen, they're
Right.
just right. And of course we check the oil, so we're frying probably like around 350.
350 or so.
And you can see, look at that,
Wow.
right? That's
Look at
what we
that.
want, fully coated.
And then warm through the inside.
Exactly. So we're gonna fry for about 3 to 4 minutes, I think.
Not that long.
As I pull one out, I'm gonna put one in.
So I'm gonna start over here.
Beautiful corn puree, right?
Corn puree like this. Let's be a little chefy over here, right?
And then we're just gonna put a little nugget right here, and then off center. And it looks like little caviar, right?
It does.
Little jam beads in there. And then we're gonna try to get some of that syrup.
And do a little bit of a drizzle around.
Just a little drizzle.
Of course. Let's take a bite.
Let's dig in.
Little jalapeno.
Oh wow, it's perfect. I'm serious. This is out of hand. This is out of hand.